This is the Peaches and Policy podcast, where we talk about the intersection of politics, policy, and culture. My name is Ettoro Umontwin, and I am the digital managing editor of the Atlanta Voice. Be sure to follow the Atlanta Voice on all social media platforms at the Atlanta Voice NBA, and please subscribe and like us on our YouTube channel at the Atlanta Voice. We have a special guest in the building today, so tell us who you are, where you're from, and why you're here today.
Absolutely. Thanks for this opportunity, Toro. I'm very glad to be here. My name is Nate Jester, and I'm running for Atlanta City Council District 11 to represent Southwest Atlanta. Looking forward to having a great conversation and talking about what's important to me and the people of Southwest Atlanta. So let's do this.
Absolutely. So tell me, why is it important? Why now do you decide to get into the race, and, what inspired you to jump right in?
Well, I think it starts with my foundation. I was born and raised in the district, born and raised in Ben Hill, proud product of Atlanta Public Schools, going to, K through 12 in Southwest Atlanta at Fickett Elementary, Bunch Middle, and then finally graduating from Mays High School. After Mays, I was nominated by Congressman John Lewis to attend the Naval Academy. Graduated from the Naval Academy and commissioned as an officer in the Marine Corps. Served my time in the Marines, got out and went to Harvard for law school, where I started learning about the importance of policy and the legal world on our communities. Mm-hmm. When I moved back to Atlanta, I started working as a real estate lawyer. I started a small business. Got involved in the community through a number of nonprofits, the Mays Alumni Association, and some other initiatives as well. And, coming back, I saw that there were a lot of things that were the same or worse. And frankly, there's a lot of things that need to change. And so, when this opportunity arose with an open seat at City Council for District 11, it is a time for our community, an opportunity for our community to elect bold, new, and accountable leadership. And that's what I'm committed to bringing. I'm focused on affordable housing. I'm focused on the support, the services, and the safety that our community is calling for and deserves and needs. Mm-hmm. And so this is a great opportunity for us. And I'm running to deliver on what the people have been asking for.
Absolutely. And you kind of led into my next question. You talked about, you're supporting affordable housing. I know it is it's very much a hot button topic in our city right now. The Mayor Andre Dickens, he says that he pledges to build 20,000 affordable housing units by 2030. In District 11, which is north of it's south of where I live, mm-hmm. In Andrea Boone's district. But I wanted to know, what are the ways or the bold ideas that you would bring to the table to help facilitate the building of affordable housing in your district if you were to be elected?
Absolutely. I'll start off by talking about how I got into affordable housing because it's a passion of mine. So mm-hmm. when I was in law school, I became a student attorney. I was licensed by the state of Massachusetts to practice law while I was still a student at Harvard, and I joined the Harvard Legal Aid Bureau. This is a clinic that represents low-income clients in a few different practice areas. And my practices were housing, and it was wage and overtime cases. So on those housing cases, I worked with people that were facing unlawful eviction from landlords, and a lot of times it was corporate landlords trying to kick out lower income people in an interest in raising the rents and extracting more profit from that community. So that was my entrance into the real estate world and the housing world. And I always think about my first client and working with her over a years long case to keep this grandmother taking care of her children, working a job, dealing with health issues, keep her in her subsidized rent apartment. And working with her, I got a firsthand look at the affordable housing problem and a system that that disadvantages, in a lot of ways, our seniors and especially our poorer communities. So from there, I reached out to someone at the Atlanta Neighborhood Development Partnership. I was ready to see what I could do in Atlanta to address this problem. I was able to join the board of the Atlanta Neighborhood Development Partnership. I'm now the chair of the Single Family Development Committee, and we work around the city of Atlanta to provide affordable homes for rent and affordable home buying options for lower income people to be able to buy homes. The other thing that I did was start a company that partners with churches and nonprofits called Cascade Centennial to build affordable housing and opportunity in partnership with churches and nonprofits around our community. We're actually working with a few churches in Atlanta. We have 3 that we're moving forward with right now. And we've actually received very recently some money from Invest Atlanta to be able to carry out the pre-development for these projects. So getting to the question, I know there's a lot of background, but getting to the question, what are we going to do? I think it's what you have seen me exemplify in my own experience. I want to do more of that. That's partnerships with nonprofits that are doing the work to deliver affordable housing. That's partnering with community stakeholders and community institutions like churches, like longtime residents, like community leaders to build affordable housing. And that's working with the city of Atlanta. You know, the mayor has a goal of a certain number of 20,000 houses by 2030. And my position is yes and more. Like let's get as many homes as we can. So for me, if I'm elected to council, my priority will be on one, identifying more partnerships and more parcels and more ways that we can activate underutilized land or activate revitalize buildings that are blighted or are underperforming so we can turn those into affordable housing. And then the other key piece is protecting people that are already in homes. So for our seniors, this gets overlooked a little bit in the affordable housing conversation, but with the housing supply, the undersupply of housing, we see prices rising, we see rents rising, and our seniors need to be protected. My parents are in their 70s. They live in Southwest Atlanta, and they've been there for over 50 years. They deserve to be able to live with dignity and respect without being priced out by property taxes, and there are a lot of people that are in that same position. So we have to protect our seniors. And then the other big piece, I think, that I would say for affordable housing is helping younger generations, helping people be able to move to Southwest Atlanta by providing down payment assistance, rent-to-buy options, and other opportunities, resources that will make it easier to buy a home. So to simplify, I know I talked a lot. To simplify, I would say help people buy homes, keep people in their homes, build more homes.
Absolutely. And then also, to that degree or to that end, you have a lot of folks that will, when you mention blight, when you mention you want to revitalize blight, especially we're seeing that going on in neighboring DeKalb County right now. County Commissioner Lorraine Cochran Johnson says she wants to tackle blight in South DeKalb and Southwest DeKalb County. And people are immediately shouting about gentrification. When people are like, okay, well, you want to build it up and do this, but the fear is that they're going to price out and force people to move away. When a future constituent comes at you with that, and it's a genuine concern in our community, what would be your response to that?
My response would be that's valid. This is a genuine concern, and it is it's rooted in history. I mean, we've seen it happen before. So I think when people are coming with this fear, it's coming from a place of, look, I've seen this, I've heard of this. How are you going to prevent this from happening? And so I don't think people are opposed to the revitalization, but they want to make sure it's done the right way. And I'm committed to making sure it's done the right way. The right way is taking into consideration, focusing on when we talk about revitalization, rebuilding, redeveloping, who benefits, who is the value created for, who is that wealth created for? And my answer is that it should be for the members of that community. So when we talk about revitalization, I am talking about partnering with builders, developers, business owners who are already fully invested in this community. I'm talking about providing housing, providing commercial spaces for residents and businesses that are from this community and already invested in this community. And so the value that's created has to be for the people that live in that community and not for outside interests. The real estate world, it can be a dirty game. We live in a capitalist country,
Absolutely
right?
right.
It's about the money for a lot of folks, but for me, it's about the community and creating that value for the community. And so I prioritize the residents that are from this community. I prioritize the businesses that are already in this community. And there are a lot of Black developers and local developers that need a chance and that need the opportunity to be able to build their communities the way they want to see it. And so there's a right way to do it. And there's a right way to create the space for our people. And that would be my focus on day one.
Absolutely right. Speaking of value for a community, I want to touch on education.
Absolutely.
Members of the Atlanta Public School Board, they have an express goal of establishing a $100,000 median or average salary for every APS school teacher by 2030. And over the years, I don't have to tell you, there's been this tug and war back and forth about the standing and where APS should be versus where it ought to be and where it is right now. So how would you, as future city councilman, work with the school board in order to see or to achieve the best possible outcomes, not only for our teachers who have to take on so much as it is, but then also for our students who, we sometimes forget about our students because we're focused on test scores and achievement and funding and all of that. But the day-to-day holistic care of our students, how would you work with APS to get these goals accomplished?
Yeah, this is another passion of mine. Being a product of Atlanta Public Schools myself, when we talk about the students, we're talking about kids like me when I was coming through Vickett, through Bunch, and through Mays. So my focus is on student achievement. The city has a role to play in student achievement, and I'm not trying to step on any toes or create any type of, conflict with the school board. On quite the contrary, I think that there is an important partnership between the city of Atlanta and Atlanta Public Schools that needs to be fully realized and fully maximized. So the way that I approach it is, the school day is from, whatever time in the morning, 7:30 in the morning until 3:30 in the afternoon. What can we do as a city from 3:30 in the afternoon until 7:30 in the morning to provide students with the resources and the support that they need to be successful? I think the data shows that, when we give kids the resources that they need, when we give them all the support that they need, not just educational support, I'm talking about health, I'm talking about financial, I'm talking about mental health, I'm talking about sports and all the engagement that they need to be successful, then they are successful. And so there is an opportunity there in those afternoon hours, in those early morning hours for the city to provide support. And that's one thing that I am focused on doing and I'm committed to doing as a city council person. For me, when I left school, I was fully engaged. I played sports at Ben Hill, at Cascade, at Sandtown, baseball, football, basketball. I was on the swim team at the Southwest YMCA. I mean, my parents, I couldn't be at home. I had to be in a summer school. I didn't spend a single summer at home. I was in summer school every single summer. Golf camp at John A. White doing the first tee. Camp Best Friends. I did summer camp at Kimberly Courts one time. We need more programs like that. And I understand that there have been some some disinvestment or some rollback of some of these programs over the
Right.
past couple decades, especially with COVID. But I'm committed to bringing all of those back. What we want is for kids to be able to be fully engaged when they leave school, and it's not just about the kids. You know, I think we focus on the children, and that is very important. But we also need to focus on the families that are supporting these kids, and they have health needs, and they have educational needs, and these parents need to have access to good jobs and stable, affordable housing. And so, you know, we think about things in these different buckets, but we're really talking about one system and one community. Mm-hmm. And for the city and for the school system, we have to be focused on supporting that community, and we'll see the results. We'll see the results in the kids. We'll see them perform better when the families are supported and when the kids are fully engaged.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Because one thing about it, and two things for sure, a lot of the kids nowadays, they don't care about how much you know. They want to know how much you care
Absolutely.
about them. And having that engagement is so important, because, as my parents will always say, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. Yeah. So you gotta keep, you gotta keep the kids engaged. It's no different than when it was when we were coming up in the 90s and 2000s, and it's no different than it is today. My final question is about the economy relative to, you know, making sure that our communities have, you know, the walkability, the accessibility, the jobs, and all these kinds of things. You know, I cover the state politics a lot. I cover the Gold Dome. That's where, when I talked with you at the event, shout out to the New Leaders Council.
Shout out
NLC. You know, we had that conversation about how, you know, again, like, you know, Republicans will say Georgia's the number one state to do business and blah, 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 blah. But yet we all know, like I told you, like the proverbial gold rush to Atlanta. I came to Atlanta in 1991 as a 7-year-old kid. First thing I saw, the mailman, the firefighter, the doctor, the lawyer, the engineer, the people on TV reading the news, they all look like me. I said, Dad, we got to move here. I said, well, son, I would move here, but your mother doesn't like the traffic. So, but now it's kind of, you know, things are beginning to settle in. Property values are going up. How do we make sure that, you know, one of the ways to keep the Atlanta's economy going, while also making sure you have those partnerships with Invest Atlanta and Atlanta Black Chambers and all these different business organizations that love to telling the story of Atlanta, you know? And how do we make sure that Atlanta's economy is best, everybody can participate? Yeah. How can everybody, those who, from the working class to the entrepreneur and everybody in between, how can everybody feel like, as Andre Dickens likes to say, participate in the group project that is Atlanta?
Well, you know, we have a history in Atlanta of, at the city level, prioritizing Black businesses, minority-owned businesses, and local businesses. And I'm committed to continuing that trend. That's going to be one of my focuses for carrying out my vision in Southwest Atlanta, is making sure that the people who helped build this city, the people who grew up in this city, our legacy residents, our legacy businesses, not only do they have a place in the future that we are building, but they are actively participating. And I think from a policy standpoint, that looks like prioritizing them, creating certain requirements that our businesses have a seat at the table, and are actively participating in building the Atlanta that we want to see. Absolutely. We know that the World Cup is coming here. We know that the Super Bowl is coming in 2028. Like the Olympics back when I was a kid in the 90s, these are opportunities. These are opportunities for a huge investment in the city, a huge investment in our infrastructure. And we have to make sure that our people are not left behind. And I'm committed to making sure that our people are not just not left behind, but are actively participating in the bounty that's going to come from these massive events. You know, you talked a little bit about infrastructure. Infrastructure is so important. I grew up, you know, walking streets that didn't have sidewalks, riding my bike around potholes, and taking MARTA. I took MARTA to school. I took MARTA to work. I know how important infrastructure and public transit is. With the growth that Atlanta is going to be seeing over the next few years with these massive events coming, then we have to be prepared to move people from where they are to where they want to go.
Absolutely.
And that's very, very important. And over the past decade, we've as the people have voted to approve, you know, sales taxes for infrastructure improvements, for public transit projects, and we need to see these projects be delivered. So I'm committed to accountability, to holding the city and our agencies accountable for the delivery of these projects, especially for Southwest Atlanta, to transparency, to making sure that the voters know how their tax dollars are being spent. They have a right to know, and it should be easy for them to find out. And then finally, to equity, the dollars that we are allocating for transportation and for infrastructure, they need to be prioritized to underserved areas. You know, Southwest Atlanta has been overlooked for too long. We have been underinvested for too long. And we're seeing that play out in the way we have aging infrastructure that doesn't completely serve us. We have not enough resources for our families and our small businesses. And we already touched on this, but the lack of affordable housing for, you know, new home buyers, for residents, for our seniors, for everyone. That is a result of this underinvestment. We have to make sure that these dollars are getting allocated to the communities that need it the most. And I am committed to making sure that Southwest Atlanta gets the respect and resources that it deserves.
How can the people get in touch with you? How can the people follow along with your campaign?
Absolutely. Well, you can find out more about us at votenatejester.com. You can follow us on all social medias. You can look up Nate Jester, Nate Jester ATL on Instagram, Nate Jester for Atlanta City Council on Facebook, and I'm Nate Jester on Twitter. I would love to hear from you. You can shoot us an email at info@votenatejester.com, and we'll be in touch. So I just want to thank you, Ettore, for this opportunity. It's been truly amazing. I love talking about policy. I love talking about Southwest Atlanta. So, you know, anytime, I'm sure we'll be in touch, and I'll run into you at some more events, you know, around the city. Always happy to chop it up, man.
Not a problem. Appreciate it.